Race fans, welcome. Good morning from Sonoma Raceway, and as you can see, it's still wet for race 5 of the 2026 Radical Cup North America Series. My name is Tom Drewer. I am joined here in the commentary booth with Mike Anzaldi, a Radical Cup racer. Welcome, Mike.
It's actually a very nice pleasure to be up here in the box and not out in a race car where it's been raining for the last 3 days.
Well, after yesterday's chaotic race, we were enjoying the wineries of Sonoma, but now it's time to turn back towards this wonderful 2.5-mile racetrack. We saw plenty of action through turn 3 yesterday. Turn 4 and down over the crest and down into the carousel was where we saw some stopped cars as well. Obviously, the S's through turn 8 can be cause for concern. The bus stop before turn 10 is where we've seen plenty of passes, and turn 10 itself has been the subject of much talk within the paddock, Mike, because that river has been flowing rather well just where the Toyota signage is.
Yeah, and it's mostly, exactly. It's mostly on the outside of turn 10 there, right after they get through that bus stop chicane, and they have been aquaplaning in not just that spot, but 2 or 3 spots along this racetrack in the last couple of days. So, definitely some interesting elements out there to look for today.
So as we can see, the cars are behind the safety car. We actually had some chaos already with a couple of cars stationary in the pit lane. And so we've got some cars trying to rejoin the back of the pack. We will take you through the grid. And, of course, the grid for race 2 here, or race 5 of the championship, is being set by the fastest laps of yesterday's race. Wayne Williams didn't make it his way through the race. It was only a couple of corners, wasn't it? So Wayne will start off row 9, and then it's Chip Romer, who will be one of his protagonists, if you will, in the Platinum class. Chip will start alongside Dave Mason in the Gold class from row 8. Then, from row 7, 14th on the grid, Dennis Kelly, all smiles yesterday afternoon, and looking forward to this one. He'll start alongside Evan Wolf, who was second in Pro 1340 in yesterday's race, and then Richard McDougall, who took the win in the Gold class. Impressive performance for him. He'll start from 12th on the grid alongside the Pro 1500 runner of Josh Holtz. From 10th on the grid, it's Declan Dionorine, who was awarded yesterday's race, although he was stationary at the time of the red flag. And so Declan, with a win to his name here at Sonoma already, he'll start alongside Matt Romer from row 5. And then row 4, it's Valen Venkatesh, starting from 8th on the grid. The Cameron Racing driver was impressive in the wet conditions. So too was Jack Yang. Both of those Pro 1500 drivers, ones to watch, I think, in this one. On row 3 of the grid, Sam McDougall impressed yesterday. Sam's first podium, and both McDougalls on the podium. That was great stuff to see. The family would have been having fun last night celebrating that success. Chris Hoon will start from 5th. He was unlucky in the Gold class after being very quick in yesterday's race, but crucially, he will start right high up on the grid. And Robert Rossi was successful in the Platinum class, but only 4th fastest. It was Joe Nuxel who was ultra quick and will start from 3rd on the grid. Jonas Axbo was the winner in yesterday's race, but it was Luke Kendall who showed supreme pace, Mike Anzaldi, and it will be Luke who will start from the outright pole. Impressive from the youngster, impressive too because their Pro 1500 cars not nearly as much horsepower as the Platinum SR10s.
Yeah, and a little bit lighter with those cars in the corner, and in this rain, it has really brought those classes together, Pro 1500 and Platinum, and so we'll see how this plans out here.
So we've got a slow car just circulating the circuit. Meanwhile, the cars are trundling down into the final corner, and they are arranged side by side. We are looking for a green flag this time by, but it is appearing as though we may get a local yellow. As you can see, Luke Kendall on the inside for the kink on the outside of that final corner, and he lines up against his championship rival, Jonas Expo, who's running for the local team, Radical Northwest. And the green flag flies. They're side by side. A good getaway so far, and the SR10's just hanging out at the back of the field. We'll wait and see what Wayne Williams and Chip Roma can do as we head up through 3 and 4.
Expo on the outside at 2, puts him on the inside at 3, but it's still Kendall with the lead. Looks like a little bit wide with Sam McDougall.
Yeah, Sam McDougall, and there we have the
Josh
number 7.
Looks like Josh Holt is stalled at the moment. We have a local yellow flag somewhere on the racetrack, and that's Jack Yang.
Jack Yang has come off the circuit. We saw that the younger McDougall was getting shuffled back through the pack. We've got a slow car as well on the backside of the circuit, but so far so good for the 54 of Luke Kendall. And someone's run wide. So around goes Robert. Is that Robert Rossi?
Oh,
it is Robert Rossi into the wall and the rear wing down. So
and
Robert
there
Rossi.
There goes Williams. There goes Romer.
So it has all turned around in the Platinum class, and the full course caution has come out.
And I don't mind Tom saying that this is a bit of a confusing situation at the moment. We've got 3 or 4 cars that are out of position. Josh Holtz just got himself underway. He just crossed start-finish well behind the rest of the pack. Well, you've got Rossi off. You had McDougall off. You had an issue with Evan Wolf.
The good news is, of course, for those drivers, I think we're struggling just to find the back of the pack before the race start. Of course, this full courser will close up the field, so they'll be on the back of the pack.
Sam McDougall now slow on the back side of the track. The whole field is packed up behind him. It looks like they are now going to take the opportunity to pass him.
Yeah, and you could see the lights coming on and off. So Sam McDougall has refired that car. Now, he is definitely stricken, so I think the other drivers are well in their right to make the way pass, and you can see I'm sure there's a lot of frustration underneath that helmet. Sam McDougall, we're right on board now, and you can see the helmet bobbing up and down, certainly trying to refire that Radical as he comes down into the chicane. The front lights are off again. Smartly, Sam has taken the escape road, so Sam can just duck behind there. But for everyone else, they're going to be hustling up behind Luke Kendall and Jonas Expo, who will undoubtedly continue the fight.
Look like Sam now, as we're just kind of visually watching out through the box. I know you're seeing the pictures on the front straight, and we're keeping an eye on Sam toward the back in turn 10. He's still slow there. And we're back on board Expo just to have a quick look at what it looks like. But that is Sam McDougall at that point near the Toyota sign. It looks like he'll come to a stop and need to figure out either refire this car or be rescued by safety teams. But we did talk ad nauseum yesterday, Tom, about the modern Radical and how it does cool down. It is a very well-cooled car, and it is chilly here this weekend. It's been raining all weekend.
The factory technicians making a change to the software management of the engines last night, so all of the cars updated with different parameters, in theory, to prevent that from happening. So perhaps a different issue for Sam this morning. But in any event, Luke Kendall still leads this motor race overall. Jonas Expo, what can he do? He's certainly shown plenty of pace. He was definitely the more impressive of the two at Sebring, but I think Luke Kendall's been the star of the show this weekend, even though he doesn't have the win to his name. So here's what happened on the restart. And it looked like Jack Yang sort of...
Yes, he was coming over us toward turn 4, that the top of 3B is very light. It's blind. It's wet.
And then you could see Robert Rossi just runs a little bit wide.
Now, Rossi's not out. He's able to get that car back going. He is on the current lap, which is lap 2 at the moment. And so we'll watch Rossi and see how he's able to negotiate his misfortune.
The tricky thing in these conditions is you're trying to find grip, so you're trying to run offline, which is why some of the drivers were taking a wider line through that carousel and into that carousel. They were trying to get off the rubber that typically exists on the racing line. The trouble is that Rossi just slightly too wide and actually fell off the edge of the circuit.
And we talked about this actually yesterday. I don't mind the position that Expo is in right now. You want to be able to follow somebody who's going to put their foot into the water a little bit, and so that P2, that's a pretty good spot
what can Joe Nuxall do? He was so quick yesterday, had all sorts of confidence, then came a cropper in turn 10, just found that river that we talked about before the race, and Joe Nuxall in the gold class is going to be third in the motor race, but he has Chris Hoon behind him. So the top four are all fighting for the wins in their respective classes.
Matt Romer making a move into turn number 1 inside there. He'll be in the catbird seat there at turn 2. He just passed up Valen Venkatesh.
Right, so Luke Kendall with a small gap as he tries to extend a lead with Matt Romer with under all sorts of pressure from Valen Venkatesh.
So they negotiate 3B and head down in turn 4.
So Romer has managed to pass Venkatesh on that restart.
And still Luke Kendall out front. They've kept it clean on lap 3 here as we go green again in a very wet Sonoma County.
See the drivers just sort of almost tiptoeing their way around some of these corners. The debris flag is out in this section of the racetrack. And Luke Kendall looking very, very strong as he negotiates 7.
Yeah, he has gapped Expo for the moment. I'm staying wide. They're not going anywhere near some of these apex anyways as they head through the S's.
So high-speed S's, plenty of speed carried down through here in the dry. I'm sure it's plenty enough in the wet as well. And there's a yellow flag out because we've got a car almost stationary at the exit of turn 10. That's not what you want to see. And that's right at the exit. These drivers will have to be careful in these conditions not to aquaplane into the back of that stricken car.
A pass is taking place under yellow right now. It looks like Dennis Kelly has went and passed Chip Romer. He's going to have to give that one back.
Or was the flag reduced at that flag stand?
It was waving. It was waving at the moment, and so we'll actually see how that plays out. We'll listen to some radios. That's the battle that I'm talking about there. It looks like that white car in front of the car to the right of your screen. That's Chip Romer. It was Dennis Kelly made that pass heading in toward turn 9. Now everybody in toward the hairpin there at turn 11, staying a little bit wide.
So Richard McDougall, ahead of Dennis Kelly. Dennis Kelly looking rather racy.
Richard McDougall right there in that Golf liveried SR3XX, joining his son after Sam McDougall was the representative for the family over at Sebring. Now they both are here on track at Sonoma.
Oh, and Richard McDougall, around he goes, and all of a sudden,
tough spot to be. Get out of there. Okay.
So that was actually for class position. So yeah, the rain has started to come down. In fact, it's tumbling down outside the commentary booth. We can't quite see it on the screen yet, but the conditions changing, and you can see the spray now starting to get kicked up behind the cuts, and it looks like Wayne Williams trying to carve his way
to the outside there through the carousel. Yeah.
Way up through the field. Interestingly enough, Robert Rossi is charging through with damage. So Robert Rossi still is being allowed to circulate with that rear wing folded down. I'm actually quite surprised about that. Typically, cars are called in for that type of rear wing damage. Obviously, at the moment, Robert Rossi is still circulating with speed.
You got Nuxall, Hoon, Romer, and Venkatesh right now kind of battling in that 2, 3, 4, 5 position in the 1500 class. Sam McDougall into the pit.
So we were actually watching the battle for the Platinum class lead here. So behind Kelly is Chip Roma in the Stella Artois car. Behind him is that damaged car of Robert Rossi. Rossi has been the class act so far this season, and Robert Rossi, even with damage on the back of the 611 machine, is closing in on the back of Chip Roma. You can see how damaged the rear wing is. It's all askew.
Oh, it really is folded down if you look out of the commentary box.
But it's folded down in a way that it's actually creating a bit of downforce.
Maybe there's some downforce back there, yeah, for certain. And so long as there's nothing hanging off the car that's in imminent danger of falling off, they would be deemed safe to continue. But we'll certainly keep our eye on that story.
So Chip Roma tucked up beneath Dennis Kelly in the gold class car. Kelly, in his own motor race, sits fourth in class, and now Rossi has a little look to the inside.
This is exciting stuff for Dennis Kelly, who's probably got his ears full, or rather his mirrors full, of SR10s, and this is just an odd position for Kelly to be in. It looks like Romer's going to look toward the inside there at 6. Not much grip there, and not much grip on the outside either. You can see Rossi going nice and wide.
Yeah, you could see Rossi have a big moment. Opposite lock for Robert Rossi as he tries to complete that carousel. Meanwhile, down into the chicane, we've got passing as well, and a very fast Matt Roma. So we'll keep an eye on that as well.
And we do have a position change up front. Expo now in the lead with a decent a lead at this point, at least by a second and a half or so. Looks like up to 2 seconds now. Looks like there may have been either a wide or a spin on the part of Kendall.
Yeah, so Luke Kendall, who has shown tremendous pace, has been caught out by these conditions. And once again, it's the 54, the Tiger Beetle car of Jonas Axpo, who takes the lead overall and in the Pro 1500 class. So two young guns fighting for their futures, wanting to impress, and certainly Jonas Axpo has been the more consistent of the two. Admittedly, though, it was Luke Kendall who suffered from mechanicals yesterday and was honestly a bit unlucky not to take the first race win here at Sonoma.
Sure, and we've been deservedly talking about Kendall and his impressive performance this weekend, but again, being behind the lead car is sometimes a good thing, and we don't really know what happened with Kendall in this previous tour, but Expo's in a good spot now. He's had a few laps to see what's where the grip is. He just gets a little bit wide there, but ultimately it's not a bad spot to be in P2, and now he'll go ahead 6-7 laps into the race.
Well, you can see why Axpo's pushing, because if we can just pan out a little bit from that camera shot, we'll see a very, very fast Luke Kendall closing in. There he is. He just comes into shot. The lights ablaze on the 54 machine, the Valor racing car of Luke Kendall, trying to make amends for whatever mishap that was. The spray, the rooster tails from these cars, extreme. The downforce kicking up the water. And all of a sudden, it's game on again at the front of this field and for the lead in Pro 1500.
A little bit further back, that P3 that we've been talking about with Joe Nuxall doing a good job there in the gold class, leading that class. P3 overall, he's got Matt Romer all over his gearbox.
Chris Hoon has eclipsed Matt Romer, so that puts a little bit of a buffer in between Joe Nuxall and his nearest competitor. And Luke Kendall trying to squeeze on the power. About 210 horsepower, 230 horsepower rather, in the SR3 1500s. About 205 in the 1340s. So not a lot of difference, but a little bit more torque, Mark Anzaldi. And what would normally be a pretty quick tromp back to the throttle is, I'm sure, a very slowly
Delayed.
eased roll onto the
Very
throttle today.
Lazy operation there, getting back to the throttle. Speaking with Chip Romer after qualifying, and he was frustrated after having a couple incidents this weekend. He said, I simply can't get back to the throttle. I can't. If I touch the throttle, the car's going around. So he's really kind of been struggling with how that car's working.
Now, the other one that's come alive a little bit is Wayne Williams. Robert Rossi has fallen off the back of Chip Romer. We were watching that battle early on. As you can see, again, a moment for Jonas Axpo as we come on board. And Robert Rossi now under some pressure from Wayne Williams. But let's continue this fantastic vision from the Tiger Beetle car. And you can see how much he's trying to be smooth on the wheel as
Kendall wide.
Kendall wide. So
Through
Kendall,
that same torn, yeah.
so down into the hairpin, offline to the inside under the braking zone. Then we'll come back out and use a little bit of a go-kart line, although not too much. They're not far off the racing line.
But you see the standing
very
water.
very tight on the inside to just get back off the rubber and try and lay down the power.
We do have a local yellow flag somewhere on the racetrack, so we'll get our eyes and ears up.
That was Chris Hoon just being passed by Valen Venkatesh. So Chris Hoon having a moment, we believe, to lead to Valen Venkatesh on the back. And
because Kendall went wide at the bus stop chicane, that 2-second lead that Axpo had is now 4 seconds. And we look back at Romer, who is, again, bringing it to Joe Nuxall, looking for that P3
yeah, so
overall.
there we go. So fantastic work by the camera crew there, picking up this battle. Now, it's not for class position, but it certainly is for the bragging rights of being home third overall. And the SR3 machines just handling these tricky conditions, more beautifully really than the SR10s. High horsepower cars, the SR10s with turbochargers. I think certainly a little bit more weight, and I think what that means is the drivers are just struggling to find the confidence to put down the right foot, whereas everyone in the SR3s seemingly having a little bit more confidence today.
I like following this battle. This is the closest one on track at the moment, although if you look at Dianery, and these are out-of-class cars, it's Dianery in front of Kelly, so they're kind of battling on track, but not really in class. Really enjoying watching Nuxall and Romer go at it.
So keep an eye on the Platinum class as well, because I have a feeling where you could see the podium changing that. It's Chip Romer who leads that class at the moment.
It's worth noting that it is a 32-second difference between the front two cars and the rest of the field. Clearly, Axpo and Kendall in a class of their own at this moment.
And Axpo still has a strong lead. Now we continue to watch a little bit further back, and this is David Mason. Then it's Declan Dionorine, who we can see in the Rice-Spec car, that white, blue, and orange car, braking a little lighter than the driver behind, and that's Dennis Kelly, who's looking rather racy at the moment, as Kelly tries to negotiate his way around Declan Dionorine because he wants to claw his way back onto the gearbox of David Mason. So Declan Dionorine preventing Kelly from challenging Mason at the moment, and now Kelly is through. And the next issue...
and there goes Dionorine. Oh!
Yes, so then... and a big moment for your Dionorine as well.
And now he's going to get collected by Chip Romer, and then eventually Rossi here, Dionorine is.
So again, a race of survival. The good news is, with slightly less water on the circuit than yesterday, we're getting plenty of green laps in, and tentative moments for all of these drivers. Rossi doing a sterling job with that rear wing folded down.
He really is, isn't he? And now it looks like Axpo and Kendall. And Kendall gets a tiny bit. Well, great car control for Kendall as he heads through the bus stop chicane there as we're watching out the window. But that two lead cars are starting to get toward the back of the rest of the pack there. So we could have a lapping situation pretty soon here within the next lap or two.
So that could be a different dynamic as we continue to watch the battle. So this is Chris Hoon, who's second in the gold class. Or that now we pick up the leaders, but it was Dave Mason and Dennis Kelly who are fighting for that final step on the gold class podium. As the 32 of Jonas Expo continues to negotiate this circuit.
That was a high-speed wiggle at turn 1.
Yeah, and another one. So
and that is the lap traffic that we speak of. So that is Richard McDougall, who just moves out of the way wisely, lets the race leader through as they head turn 4.
Teammates, so I'm sure there was some chatter on the radio just mentioning that.
Coming through.
And again, you can see the conditions. The track really hasn't dried out whatsoever. A slight racing line, but very easy to get off it.
Tom, did you enjoy this type of driving?
I did, actually. I always thought that it's much worse watching it in the commentary booth. Oh, and speaking of, in the bus stop chicane, Declan Dionorine has just launched himself. We've just picked up the back of that, but he just launched himself through the dirt. So he's been absolutely drenched in a puddle of mud.
Yeah, the second bit of that chicane on the left side, the inside of that chicane is all mud, and it is very easy to pitch the car into that location.
But I think as a young gun, someone like Jonas Expo, you come out gritting your teeth, knowing that the wet conditions is an opportunity for you to show your flair, show your style, show your abilities, and as a driver, I think that the wet's always a good one, because if you feel that maybe in this instance where Luke Kendall seemed to have some better pace in the dry, perhaps this is your time to shine, and you can use these conditions to your advantage, and that's exactly what Jonas Expo is doing. Being up here in the commentary booth, my heart rate's, I think, higher than it ever was behind the wheel, because it's treacherous stuff, and you can just see how on edge these drivers are.
And it looks so different. They're running 7 seconds a lap faster than the rest of the field. It looks different when you look at their onboards and you look out the window and you watch them through the rain. Let's see what happened earlier here and see if we can sort of figure out what was going on through turn 10. Oh, yeah, Dionorine just that was a proper splash.
So,
understeer, didn't make it. Let's go straight. He did everything right.
Did everything right and got rewarded with a very muddy shower.
Rewarded.
So we've also we might pick up in a minute this battle that continues to rage between Dennis Kelly and Dave Mason. There's actually been a change of position, so it's
Nuxall and Venkatesh.
Yeah.
Again, a great battle on track. We've been watching this one most of the race there. Romer is leading the pack of those 3 cars.
So Nuxall has just been slowly being relegated by the Pro 1500s, but he still leads the gold class. And given that Chris Hoon is not closing in particularly quickly on the back of Venkatesh, I think Nuxall managing the race rather well. It's behind them that we've had the position change. So Dennis Kelly has actually eclipsed Dave Mason. So that's for third and fourth in the gold class. So Kelly putting himself in a podium position. Jack Yang in the mix there as well as running wide.
That looks Joe.
That was Joe. Exactly. So Joe Nuxall has to be careful because the next car behind him is for class position. And look at this. Valen Venkatesh has showed pace. He was quick in the wet on Friday. Had a mishap. Actually, his car came back on a crane at one point on Friday. But now, all sorts of confidence for the youngster from California. And Wayne Williams has gone around and is causing commotion.
And here come the leaders.
So that was a lucky moment. Wayne Williams getting to the inside.
Is that going to be a lead change? Because Rossi was right behind him. It is a lead change. Rossi now leading in platinum. with a folded down rear wing.
Yeah, and Chip Roma relegated to third in class. So what has happened there? Robert Rossi has managed to eclipse both of them and has continued to circulate with damage. Robert Rossi starring at every possible moment in the Platinum class.
He's just keeping his head down, isn't he, and just kind of doing what he needs to do at the time that he needs to do it. Nothing super spectacular here. Just kind of get the car around, keep yourself in it as much as you can. I know he had the incident early on, but it hasn't really,
so Expo finds his way through, and Robert Rossi has a massive moment offline, and then Luke Kendall completely flashing the lights. Luke Kendall trying to get around what are back markers. And he's going to have to be ultra careful here. He doesn't want to get tagged. Robert Rossi will let him go as well. So Luke Kendall slides through, but he's lost huge amounts of time behind Jonas Expo, who was much more efficient through the traffic.
Again, 53 seconds ahead of the rest of the field, so now you're seeing those two leaders with Expo and Kendall start to make their way through the field and deal with that slower traffic.
You've got to think at this moment in time, there's still 11 minutes remaining. It's going to be the longest 11 minutes of Jonas Expo's life. I think, too, for Joe Nuxall. Can he hold on to the gold class win? Joe Nuxall coming out to try his luck against the top of the championship in terms of national level Radical Cup competition. He's been absolutely thrilled to rejoin the paddock here at Sonoma Raceway, and Joe Nuxall, after yesterday's mishap in turn 10, is completely redeeming himself with a stunning drive, first and fifth overall.
Looks like Venkatesh has made it around, and now Nuxall's going to have to deal with Hoon. Chris Hoon has been enjoying himself some good success in the gold class at the top step of the podium in several of these races. Yesterday he finished third, and so he is no stranger to the podium at all, and he's going to be a tough battle here for Nuxall as he tries to finish up here in the last 10 minutes of race number 5.
So Robert Rossi leads with damage in the Platinum class. And now we're picking up the overall leader. And that's Jonas Expo, who, again, as you mentioned, has got more traffic to contend with. That has slowed him down momentarily on that run into the chicane. Dennis Kelly doing the right thing, though, and Expo on rails for the moment. And it's certainly the case that I think that Luke Kendall has... That seesaw of the traffic has played a little bit into Kendall's favour. The gap coming down just a hair. And it would only take one minor moment for the 32, for the 54 to be right back in the mix. In fact, Luke Kendall is just out of shot. We just don't quite pick up the second place car, but he's not far behind. So there is Jonas Expo. We're still just not quite picking up Luke Kendall, but it's not a lot of distance between the front runners.
Yeah, less than 3 seconds, and yeah, it's it's coming down to the wire here. I don't know if this is going to be a situation where you beat them with merit on the track.
The rain is falling, tumbling again. We can start to see the spray kick up behind the 32 machine. So all of a sudden the conditions change yet again. The drivers had to contend with outrageous conditions yesterday, it should be said. Extremely brave stuff and very impressive, generally, the driving from the Radical Cup field in yesterday's race. But now the rain tumbles again on Sonoma, and this has been a wet, wet wine country this weekend. I've never seen the greenery so green around the rolling hills of stunning Sonoma. And the question is, with 8 minutes remain, can Jonas Expo convert what would be a stunning victory, it should be said. Yesterday he was lucky. Today it would be all class, style and substance from the young gun.
We'll be staring at these two for the remaining 8 minutes
But look
so.
at this. If we could just zoom out, I think we might start to see the headlights. There we go. Look at Luke Kendall. Is he closing in? Does he have enough time?
Took a half second out of that last lap, and so he is starting to chip away at that lead.
So from the wide shot, we can just see Kendall come into play, down into the final hairpin. What a view as a driver to see a full tyre wall presenting itself on the outside. There's no runoff there, and just all grit and determination to try and squeeze on that brake pedal, but not too much. You can't afford to lock a wheel. You can't afford to run wide anywhere. You can see how the camber changes on this circuit. The undulation spectacular here in the dry. Absolutely treacherous in these wet conditions. And Axpo soaking up this pressure at the moment extremely well.
Sterling stuff. I mean, everything that they've learned over the last 20 minutes is starting to kind of fall apart a little bit with this new rainfall. I mean, certainly we've been running in the rain all weekend, so all the information's solid. But
just looking out the window, because the other battle that's starting to occur is Joe Nuxall is getting a mirrorful of Chris Hoon. That's for the gold class win. We mentioned it a couple of minutes ago. Can Nuxall hold on that gap down to under a second, just 8 tenths?
Back on board with Axpo to just give you a little bit of a feel of what it's like looking around Sonoma. Cloudy skies, rain again for most of the weekend, and nothing comfortable about lapping around wine country at the moment.
So we're looking on the monitors, we're looking out the commentary booth, and Axpo is heading down into the bus stop. The big tyre bundle on the right hand side. Try and open up the wheel, be very, very cautious. You can see the additional water pooling as they go through turn 10. Now it's down this chute into the final corner. Again, just braking offline.
I'd also like to point out that Venkatesh and Romer have swapped positions.
And a big moment for Jonas Axpo. We saw it on board, all crossed up and just starting to perhaps feel the pressure as Luke Kendall takes another little notch out of Axpo. And in fact, Kendall supposedly losing a tenth. And there we have
Venkatesh
on Richard McDougall.
Richard McDougall, Venkatesh, and look at the lead that Venkatesh has on Romer.
Yeah, so Venkatesh up to third. A fantastic drive for another Radical Northwest driver on the podium. So Matt Romer relegated to fourth.
Good action deeper into the field here. We're definitely not done. 5 minutes to go.
And someone's run off in the chicane.
Venkatesh.
Venkatesh has had to go take avoiding action and run through the chicane. You can see him just rejoining at turn 10.
You know, the One Motorsport boys are going to be on the radio wondering if Venkatesh needs to back off or...
He did go through the tyres. Now, they're not much of a penalty, it must be said. But I think he might get away with that one.
2.8 seconds is the lead for this guy right here in the Tiger Beetle car. That's Jonas Axpo making his way through turn 7.
And as we can see, a number of nationalities represented in this championship. And right now,
Nuxall still doing the business against Hoon. How about that?
Luke Kendall looking very racy as they head down into the braking zone off the chicane. And a bit of a concertina effect, an accordion between the two drivers. But you can see the spray. It has stopped raining, but plenty of moisture down the racetrack. Axpo with a wide line. Kendall slightly tighter. Axpo very tight on the exit. Kendall a little bit wider. We can see him running out to the wall. But this gap continues to close.
1.4 seconds. It was 2.5 seconds a couple laps ago.
So 3 laps to go, I think.
Well,
2 laps to go.
Yeah.
So not much time for Luke Kendall, and he has a moment. So Luke Kendall's got to be careful. He's pushing hard to try and get onto the top step of the podium. It's evaded him so far this weekend. Unlucky in yesterday's race. The cars are all generally suffering from having to be recycled due to the cold, extremely cold weather. Water getting into the ducting for the radiators and dousing those radiators. So a very strange situation that we saw in yesterday's race. This one, it appears everyone has remained unscathed from that issue. The rain falling again. So with 2 minutes and 30 seconds remaining, Jonas Axbo will have to try and work out what the grip level is, and it's changing. Kendall has a rabbit and someone to sort of give him a clue at what kind of grip he's got out there.
Absolutely. Expo is trying to bring this one home. They're on the radio now at this point saying, come on, kid, keep this thing within the white lines here and bring it home. They are getting very, very close. It's going to be one lap to go as they head through the bus stop.
Oh.
Just a slight lead at the moment for Expo.
We didn't quite see it on the live stream, but Kendall decided to use all the curb, particularly on the second part of that bus stop chicane. It didn't pay off. He carried tremendous speed into the chicane, but a massive moment on the exit. It hasn't seemed to have affected him too much, and you can see him putting down the power. He is trying everything as the white flag flies. So it's Jonas Axbo with one more tour of this 2.5 mile circuit to go. Axbo, can he sustain this pressure? It continues to rise. Kendall looking extremely racy, but perhaps a little ragged.
And he's not the only one that's battling right now. Chris Hoon and Joe Nuxel have a position change. Hoon in the lead in the gold class.
Wow, so Nuxel has relinquished that lead, but it's also tight. We're just watching them out the commentary booth go through turn 10, and Nuxel is actually looking like he might even get a run into the final corner.
And this battle is coming to a close here. They're in the turn 6 carousel, all the way on the outside. It looks like a decent lead for Expo.
Yeah, Expo at this stage just looks more composed. Kendall, I think, throwing everything in the kitchen sink at the racetrack as someone runs wide and through. Is that Nuxel?
I think that's Joe Nuxel.
Nuxel has come off through the chicane.
Worth pointing out that Luke Kendall has the fastest lap of the race at the moment. He will be the pole sitter in the next race coming up in a couple of hours.
So that's crucial for him, but at the moment it just comes down to a couple of corners for the youngster of Radical Northwest, Cameron Racing. Another protege of Steve Cameron's, Jonas Axbo in the Tiger Beetle car. He just has a straightaway now. And one more careful hairpin to negotiate. That's it. Then it'll be powered down and a slight kink. He can start to taste the champagne. Luke Kendall throws the throttle again. But the checker flag is out, and Jonas Axbo takes a fantastic win in the conditions.
Excellent. Really good stuff. Chris Hoon, though, I love that, back in the gold class, leads Nuxel, and P3 at the moment, Dave Mason. I'm
going to start running down, I think.
You do it.
Collect the winner. It'd be fantastic to speak to Jonas, but I'll leave you to take everyone through.
It's going to be another minute
results
before the rest of the field finishes anyways. The gap between the two front cars and the cars leading, or rather the cars behind, say, the P3 car of Valen Venkatesh, 1 minute and 23 seconds. So a big gap there. Robert Rossi still leading in the Platinum class. It looks like the Platinum class is going to end up after we do have a spin over there in turn 10. You can't see it right now. It is starting to rain again, as you see on your screen there. The visibility is going down just a little bit, so we do have a yellow flag in the bus stop. But over in that Platinum class, it's Rossi, Romer, and Williams. Look at the visibility. My goodness. Pretty nasty out there, of course, and so cars starting to take the checker flag here, but we're still waiting for the overall P3 of Valen Venkatesh and Matt Romer to see if that turns out to be anything. It does not. It's a P3 for Venkatesh. That is a podium that he's going to be very excited about. Romer over the line, Jack Yang finishing P7 overall in that Pro 1500 class. Dennis Kelly, P4, 10th overall in the gold class. Declan Dianery didn't really have much competition here as his main competitor, Evan Wolf, had to retire early with an issue there. We saw him through pit lane and out of the race. Declan Dianery picks up his second win of the weekend. Again, P2 in Platinum is Chip Romer. Josh Holtz has been kind of on and off the track, had a couple of spins and had a pretty dramatic session, as it were, and he finishes P13 overall, 6 in class. And then you'll see again Wayne Williams bringing up the back of the pack there in Platinum. Richard McDougall is the final position in the gold class, finishing that series, or rather that class, in P5. So what an exciting race for you all. I'm going to send Tom downstairs with a microphone to hopefully get in the face of either Axpo or Kendall, as the class of those drivers throughout this race was obvious. A massive, massive lead, a massive difference in the pace that was able to be sustained by those guys. Their fastest laps are right around a 1:57, a high 57, a low 58. The rest of the fast laps, the best of them, would be Valen Venkatesh over at a 2:02. But that wasn't kind of how it played out the entire race. Some of those laps were 10 seconds apart between the top two and the rest of the field. So a big, big difference in performance from, again, those top two youngsters who are battling for what will be the 2026 Radical Cup Championship. Conditions out here are just absolutely fascinating, and so we're going to, again, wait for our man to make it down to the pit lane and see if he can get a word from a couple of our drivers. But in the meantime, we'll send him to a break. We'll be right back here from Sonoma. Back at Sonoma in the rain. Hopefully we're going to go downstairs, and it is raining again for the Radical Cup. This is the second round of the Radical Cup, races 4, 5, and 6 on the West Coast, and Tom Drewer is making his way down toward the paddock to see if he can't get some drivers. Tom, who do you have?
Jonas Axpo, congratulations. A stunning win, soaking up so much pressure.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. At the beginning, trying to get past Luke and, managing all the traffic. It was really a once-in-a-lifetime experience, so it was a lot of fun, this race.
Well, yesterday you were a little bit lucky, but it was all class and style today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, we'll try and get a quick moment, too, for Chris Hoon, because, Chris, if we could just get the helmet off quickly. You weren't in first place for most of that race, but you kept pedaling away and you've come home with a win. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. We just stay consistent, stay on the track, look for the opportunity, and it came.
That was tough conditions. How was it compared to yesterday afternoon?
I'd say a lot less big puddles, but still really slick and fun. Lots of moments, but not over the limit.
All right, well, that wraps it up from down here in Parc Ferme. A fantastic race, green flag racing from the Radical Cup. in, again, tough conditions here at Sonoma.
Thanks, Tom. Again, Jonas Expo, the winner in Pro 1500. The winner in gold class, Chris Hoon. The winner in the Pro 1340 class, that's Declan Dianery, and Robert Rossi takes the platinum class. Thank you for joining us here, and we've got race number 6, the third race of the weekend, coming up in a couple of hours. We'll see you soon.